The Saluki Standards Podcast is brought to you by McAllister's Deli in Carbondale, and they're famous for their sweet tea and their handcrafted sandwiches. They're located on East Main Street in Carbondale, 1382 East Main Street to be exact. McAllister's Deli in Carbondale, proud sponsor of the Saluki Standards Podcast. Hey everybody, this is Connor Onion, and this episode is long overdue. Not much introduction needed for this guy. The Saluki head men's basketball coach, Saluki Hall of Famer, member of the 2007 Sweet 16 team. Here is Bryan Mullins.
First, Coach Mullins, I got to apologize. It's episode 20, and we haven't had the head basketball coach on yet. I was kind of hoping to have you on in person, but here we are doing it on Zoom. And I apologize. It's taken this long. You're one of our esteemed guests, so thanks for doing it.
You humble me always, and it's good. I've been following it every single week and hoping to get the call one day. And I'm sure someone canceled today, and I was a good fill-in, so I appreciate it.
No, I had a couple of alums text me like, "What are you doing, you goof? Like, why have you not had Bryan on yet?" So I was hoping to do it in person. That's real. I was hoping to have you on in person at some point, but this will have to do. But last week, some exciting news with Liz Jarnigan, the athletic director, announcing that athletes are going to be back on campus June 20th. What's that going to look like for you guys?
Yeah, it is. It's exciting. Liz and the rest of her staff have been working extremely hard to put together, a plan, a protocol, guidelines to ensure our safety for our student athletes returning back to campus. And they've done an unbelievable job working with the university, working with the health departments around the area. So our guys are excited. We'll be able to get about half our guys back this upcoming weekend in this first gate, as they called it, and then be able to get the rest of our guys back after the 4th of July. Our guys have been home since three and a half months. We played Bradley March 5th, I think. Lost to them at the very end, and then it was spring break here on campus, so all of our guys went home after Arch Madness expecting to be back in a week, and then we haven't seen them. So it's exciting for us to get our returning guys back, and then also the guys that we've added in the fall and in the springtime here, just to kind of have the team that we're going to be competing with this upcoming year together for the first time is something that we've been looking forward to for a long time.
How do you balance that? You've got your core group of returners, and then you've got the new guys. Would you rather get the new guys in first or get the returners in there first? And how do you balance that?
I'd love to get them all here at the same time, but just getting them here is a huge step, and that part doesn't make too much of a difference to me. I think the guys that have been here are familiar with it, so I think it's good that they're coming back first. Just because they are familiar with the school, the university, and and then I know the new guys, especially the freshmen, that'll be back after the 4th. They'll be ready to go, and it's just for us. I think for them to have a consistent place to shoot, a consistent place to lift every single day. I mean, that's been the struggle with probably a lot of student athletes, is just kind of having their routine back in their life with everything that has happened the last 3 or 4 months with the virus.
Usually during the summertime and in season 2, everybody across the country is equal in hours and days that you can work out and be together. But this is on kind of a school by school and sometimes state by state basis. What conversations have you been having kind of about the moral responsibility to keep people safe, but also keep a competitive edge against some of the other teams?
Yeah, it's a challenge, especially. I can't imagine the conversations Liz has had, with our university and with, other athletic directors across the country, because it is kind of school by school, and every state has their own governing guidelines that they're trying to follow as well. So it's just an interesting process still with some unknowns, and no one probably has the exact right solution or the right answer at the time, but everyone's doing their best to make sure that the student athletes are safe, and I think that's the biggest thing. And, I think, the student athletes' well-being, and, our guys love being down here, mentally, physically, everything. And, trying to give them some normalcy, with everything that's been going on as well, I think is important. So, I think for coaches, just, again, I think being able to provide, a facility, being able to provide a weight room to our student athletes is more important than us actually being able to go over X and O's on the court or teach them. I think just kind of, first getting in place some structure and routine back in their lives is the biggest thing for us.
I'm sure you're ready to be done talking about it and just do it. Get back to some ball, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm excited. I mean, that first month, with the guys gone and everything going on, you weren't really even thinking about it. And then, another month went by, and, then you started really missing the guys, just having them stop by here, not even the basketball, but just not having them in the office, not seeing them through the hallways, not joking around with them. And obviously you do the Zooms as a team, you do individual Zooms with your players, but it's just not the same as, face-to-face interaction and being around them daily.
Sure. Well, let's go into your life story a little bit here. Take me all the way back to the beginning. When do you remember having a basketball in your hands for the first time?
Oh man, I don't remember not having a basketball. I always remember playing sports. Whether it's basketball, soccer, baseball, football, whatever it was, and I just. It was something that I've always loved to do. And, I think, I played soccer and basketball seriously, all the way up until high school, and those two have always stuck with me. And I think, the basketball part of it, I think, I just loved kind of, especially being a point guard, kind of having that control of the game type feel, and being able to make an impact, every single possession was something that, I think I really, loved to do.
A lot of us know what kind of basketball player you were. What kind of soccer player were you?
I was good. I played soccer, probably spent more time on a soccer field practicing soccer up until about 13, 14 years old than I did basketball. I played really competitive. I, played for, a club that was going all across the country playing games. And so it was a hard decision, choosing between the two. And I knew it was going to have to come eventually, or at least my parents kept telling me, especially my dad. And, to make that decision, it was tough for me. But again, I just felt in basketball, just the impact you can make on every single possession. I think that's what kind of drew me to, choosing basketball over soccer.
I've heard Steve Kerr talk a lot about the relationship between spacing and soccer, and how that's directly attributable to what you see in basketball. How much do you think it helped you with some of those things?
Oh, I think it's great. I really think soccer is the best thing for basketball, just with endurance, the footwork, and then again, like you said, the teaching the game with the spacing, the concepts, the ball movement. You hear the Spurs talk about 0.5 and people playing off each other. And, I've done Zooms with soccer coaches this off season, and I just think there's a lot of, aspects of both sports that translate to each other.
You've talked some soccer during this time.
Yeah. Well, I talked about spacing and culture, and, I've always, since I played so serious, I've always watched soccer. I'm living in France, went to soccer matches over there. So it's been a big part, of my life.
Yeah. You mentioned your dad. I did want to ask about Mike. He founded the Illinois Wolves in 1999. You and Brendan are pretty young at that point, so you've been around that sort of competitive atmosphere for a long time, and been around coaching for a long time. What do you think his greatest influence was for you when you were coming up through grade school and in high school?
Yeah, he's impacted, obviously, not so much the basketball part, but just in terms, I think, of, how to be a good person and how to treat people well. And the thing I always take away from, him is just the relationship aspect of coaching. And the reason he does it and the reason he loves it is because, he teaches people, and, he has all his former players always come back and talk to all the younger teams. And, for me growing up, it was, it's kind of a no excuses household. It was, find a way. It was a competitive family, obviously, with my older brother, Brendan, my younger brother, Mike. He just didn't really want to hear about, any complaining or anything like that. So, he's been a huge influence in my life, obviously, and it's not so much the basketball, the X and O part, but more about the life advice throughout my playing career and coaching career.
Was there a point where maybe you were complaining or didn't want to do something, and that message really got across to you that you remember from your childhood?
I think it was always just like work harder, like life isn't fair, just deal with it. You got to show up the next day. You have a bad game, this is what happened. You got to be ready to go the next day, and I think it was just like that competitive mindset that he kind of instilled in all of us where, there's no excuses. Like, you have enough to be successful in whatever you choose to do. It's just whether or not you really want to put the time and the effort and really go after it. If you're not going to put the work in, don't complain that, you're not starting, or don't complain that you're not one of the best soccer players, or, it was just, this is what it's about, and he really, kind of instilled that work ethic, that blue collar mentality into us.
You mentioned, being a two-sport guy and having the soccer and basketball background. Was there any nudging going on to pursue basketball, since that's what Dad was passionate about? No, it wasn't. It wasn't really. I mean, both my mom, my dad. I mean, they wouldn't have cared if I played any sports. They just, again, expected us to do our best, whether it was in sports or in school, or treat people well with our friends. And there wasn't, obviously my dad tried to coach us in soccer because he just wanted to always coach us and wanted to always be around us, and he knew nothing about soccer, but he was still going to coach us, so there wasn't any favoritism with basketball or soccer. So there was a chance there at one point that maybe the Mullins coaching tree was soccer driven, not basketball driven.
Yeah, that would have been, I don't know, that would have been an interesting one.
Well, you go to Downers Grove South High School in the Chicagoland area, southwest suburb. Take a couple of trips downstate. 2003 was the first one down there. You go with Brendan. What do you remember about making that run with your brother?
It was a great year. Probably one of my favorite basketball years of my life, because our whole family was involved. My parents, my younger brother Mike was at every single game, and it was the first time me and Brendan got to really play together on the same team. Our school wasn't a basketball school per se. Before that, we were really known for football, and we were kind of an underdog team throughout the year. We had a bunch of, baseball, football players on our team. And, we beat some really good teams in that playoff run. And, it was just a, unbelievable year. And, to do it with Brendan, and he kind of carried us throughout that year. It was just, like I said, the memories that we have as a family is probably what will stick with me the most.
That would have been his senior year, right?
Yeah.
That first run he made down there.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the final game you played with Brendan?
The final game, I didn't play well. Brendan played well. That was a tough one. I mean, we had chances to win, but we didn't play our best. The couple games leading up to that game in the playoffs, we beat some really good teams, and I think down there we didn't play our best game that day.
Yeah. I mean, was that almost more painful than playing your last game as a senior, the final game of your career?
That's a good question. Yeah, it was more painful because we lost in the final game as a senior for Downers Grove South. We won the third place state championship, so at least I got to end my high school career on the win. But yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, it was, even my junior and senior year, I knew we were really good. And that sophomore year for me, Brendan's senior year, we were figuring out that we could be really good, and we were surprising ourselves, I think, a little bit just because of how well we were playing, and everyone started to believe, in each other at the right time. So it was definitely a tough loss to the season, but, again, so many great moments.
I know at that point or around that time, Jack Owens is getting on you, Matt Painter's getting on you, SIU's starting to express some interest. When do you first remember the Salukis reaching out and saying, hey, we're interested in you?
Yeah, they were on me the longest. Coach Owens, Jack, he did an unbelievable job recruiting me. Coach Painter, I remember coming down here my junior year, watching a practice, and then obviously came back down to watch a game as well. So, it was throughout my junior year, going into my senior year, it was every day. I'd get mail from them. That's when the texts, weren't really involved. It was all handwritten notes. So I'd get 3 or 4 letters from SIU almost every single day. And then when Coach Lowry got the job, he took over, right away, and got to form a really good relationship with him going into my senior year.
What all can you say I'm trying to think from their perspective. They're reaching out to you almost every day. Yeah. What all are they writing in those letters? What all can you say that's different when you're reaching out every day? Yeah,
it's a lot of quotes, and a lot of like SIU facts and history. And, we would talk on the phone, maybe once a week or something like that. But I think just letting me know, my family know that, I'm a priority to the program, just so, every time they open up the mailbox, we open up the mailbox, there's always SIU stuff in there. I think they just wanted to kind of make that impression throughout the recruiting process with me.
Were you impressed right away by SIU?
Yeah. Because, obviously they went to, it would have been 2 or 3 by the time they started recruiting me, 2 or 3 NCAA tournaments already, and on their way to a couple more before I even got to the school. So, and I didn't know much about Southern Illinois, the region, growing up, in the west suburbs in the Chicago area. And then when I came down here, I got to see, how beautiful it was. And then when I got to go to games, I got to see the atmosphere, and then, getting to know the staff and the players and everything like that really sold me. But, I wanted to go somewhere where I felt like I could make an impact, and I wanted to win. Winning was the most important thing for me. I never lost in my life, whether it was soccer or basketball. I didn't want to go to a program that was known for losing or, didn't know what it took to win at a high level. And, I thought I could make an impact here. And, obviously the success they had before me spoke for itself.
When you get to SIU your freshman year, you guys have a pretty good stretch there. Your December stretch and January stretch, you guys won something like 11 games in a row. There's some talk, maybe we're going to be an at-large team, and then you guys lost 5 games in February and kind of go slumping into the tournament. But then you guys win the tournament. How'd you guys recover and turn it on so quickly once you got to St. Louis?
Yeah, it was that freshman year set up the sophomore year, that 2006-2007 season. But the 05-06 season, it was grueling. It was so many ups and downs, and, give the coaching staff a ton of credit for keeping us together. We were a young team. We didn't have any seniors that year. We went out to Alaska that first, our Thanksgiving tournament my freshman year. And, we went 1-2. We lost to Monmouth. We lost to someone else, and we beat Eastern Washington, who had Rodney Stuckey, because Jamal Tatum had like 37 that game. And, we were struggling to find ourselves as a team, and JT, Tony Young, they did a great job kind of leading us through. And we went on that 11-game win streak because of our defense. And we kind of formed our identity like that's who we needed to be. And, obviously in the Valley that year, 4 teams got into the NCAA tournament that year. It was probably one of the best years ever in the Missouri Valley Conference. And, we kind of, I think about it now, just going into Arch Madness my freshman year, I remember having the conversation with Jamal and with Tony, and we kind of just looked at each other and we just said, we got to win the conference tournament. And it was like, okay, sure. Because they were not going to not make the NCAA tournament. And I just remember distinctly having that, conversation in the locker room, and like, yeah, we're going to win the conference tournament. And, obviously that weekend in St. Louis was awesome. And, it's something that I hope my guys can experience.
I wasn't there for the Bradley game in the championship, but I was just looking back at the box last night and reading some stuff on that. And I think you played something like 4 minutes in the first half, but then Lowry puts you in there for pretty much the entire second half. Why the change in that championship game?
Well, I sprained my ankle in the semifinals. So we beat Northern Iowa, was it in overtime, I think. And I hit a shot to tie it. A big shot. It was a one-legged. I fell on my ankle, twisted my ankle. And so obviously it's a quick turnaround. I don't know what the game was, probably at 4 or 6 o'clock on that Saturday. And then Sunday, the game's always around 1 or 2 o'clock for championship Sunday. So I didn't even know if I was going to be able to play. And, though it was tough that first half. And I don't know, I think I went back to the training room, I remember, in the championship game and got it retaped, probably put some icy hot or something on there and just tried to suck it up in that second half. But, I wasn't moving well during that game. But, obviously our guys got it done for us.
Was your sophomore year healthy? I mean, did you have any nicks or anything like that? Because late in your career, you were pretty injured.
Yeah.
But your sophomore year, did you make that through without anything massive?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. No, I mean, I was pretty healthy. I mean, I'm sure there was some sprained ankles and little things in there, but I didn't miss any games. And, it's obviously a huge piece of, why we were so successful, because I think pretty much, I know Jamal, JT played through some injuries and all of our guys, played through things, but for the most part, we had our core group healthy for that whole year.
Did you know that Southern Illinois University awards students $10 million annually in scholarships, has test optional admission, and in-state tuition for all U.S. residents? SIU offers hands-on, career-focused learning in every major, which are supported by internships and community service and the potential for study abroad and more. Southern Illinois has faculty who bring real-world experience to the classroom and the classroom into the real world. See what SIU can do for you at the next open house. Registration and info at siu.edu/open house. Exploring options. That's a Saluki.
You said your freshman year set up the sophomore success of you guys going to the Sweet 16 in 07. Maybe it was that freshman year, maybe it was early in your sophomore year, but when did you know that group and that team was a little bit different than your typical college basketball team?
Yeah, I think it was through the freshman year, and then being able to win in St. Louis gave us that belief. We had everyone coming back, and just kind of, knowing that, we got a chance to do something special. We made the NCAA tournament with a bunch of, junior, sophomores, and freshmen, and we have a chance, to really, do something that maybe hasn't been done at this school before. And I think, we played in Orlando that first tournament, and we beat Virginia Tech out there. We lost a tough one to Arkansas, but I just felt like every time we stepped on the floor with that team, our mindset was like we were gonna win. We deserved to win because we outworked the other team, and we knew each other so well. We were so connected in terms of everyone had each other's back. Everyone was covering up each other's mistakes, and and that's just the benefit of kind of playing together, the same group of guys for 2 straight years, I think.
Yeah, I remember we had talked a little bit during this past season. You definitely couldn't play as physical as that team did in today's game, could you?
Oh, no, definitely not.
You guys were beating people up.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm teaching my guys not to foul and everything like that. And we were hugging people for 94 feet, when I was playing, but it's definitely a little bit different. But I think in terms of, the passion, how hard we played, the loose balls, the floor burns, all that stuff is still the same. And that's, if the game would have been called as it is today, when I was playing back then with those guys, we would have adjusted. And, it wasn't so much, the fouling or it was our mindset, and how hard we consistently played and just the competitiveness of that group and everyone being on the same page.
Memories from Hinkle Fieldhouse. This is, this is something I think a lot of college basketball fans wish still existed. The Bracket Busters. It's a top 15 game in February. You guys are 15th in the country. Butler's 12th. You go to Hinkle. What stands out about that day where you guys win at Hinkle?
Yeah, it was what a great college atmosphere. Unbelievable environment to play in. Like you said, 2 top 15 teams playing. It was a grinded out, brutal game. But it was the same thing. Like when we walked in there, we knew we were going to win. We believed it. I remember JT hitting a big time step back off 1 foot. That was like a dagger for them. And then, I remember going back into the locker room, under the bleachers in Hinkle and celebrating in a tiny, tiny locker room. It's just those type of experiences that you don't forget.
Are you thinking about the movie Hoosiers when you go in there? I mean, that's kind of the cliche.
Yeah.
Let me think about this Disney movie, but is that something that crosses a player's mind when you go play there?
Yeah, I mean, I think in our shoot around, when the first time you walk in there, you kind of see it. And, obviously that movie, probably every, basketball person has watched. So, it's just natural to do that. But once, the game gets going or even in warm-ups, you're all focused about Butler and the opponent.
You're not thinking about Jimmy Chitwood when it's a 4-point game late in the second half.
No. I'm thinking about closing out with high hands.
Right. I know you mentioned you heard some of the Kent Williams episode a couple weeks ago. One of the things that I found interesting when they won their second round game to go to the Sweet 16 in 2002, he talked about how hard it was to get refocused for that Sweet 16 game the following week. What was your experience with trying to, temper some of the expectations and the excitement and then get ready for Kansas?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't hard for us because we were a 4 seed. We expected to be there. We expected to beat Kansas. I mean, when I talk about the mindset of that group, that team, like we thought we were the best teams in the country. And, so I think we were happy, that we beat Virginia Tech and we were going to the Sweet 16, but we were nowhere near satisfied or, we did it, guys, great season. There was it's okay. We got another weekend ahead of us. We got another 2 games we got to win, and that's where our minds were at, and so, it wasn't hard for that group because, we believed we were going to be there and, we wanted to play another weekend.
That's an unbelievable level of confidence. I mean, you look back, you're probably not thinking this at the time, but you look back at that Kansas team, they had 7 guys that they put into the NBA, and you guys only lose by 3. I mean, do you ever think about the what ifs? What if we win that game? What happens?
Yeah, that's probably the toughest loss of maybe my playing career. I've never gone back and watched that game because I thought we should have won. I thought we were a better team. Not better talented, not more talented, not better players perhaps, but as a team, I thought we could have beat them. I thought we could have beat UCLA the next game and be in the Final Four. So. Yeah, I think about that all the time. I think about that right now for our guys. I mean, there's, it's not just to make the NCAA tournament. We're a program that can win games and go far in the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Your junior year after that Sweet 16 season, your final 2 years, you get to host College Game Day. You're still on a really good team after that. I want to ask you about that picture. I think it's hanging in the arena of you talking to Aaron Andrews with College Game Day. Do you remember that conversation, and what do you remember about that day when Game Day was in town?
That's besides the Sweet 16, I mean, just for the community and just the energy that was here in Carbondale that weekend was unbelievable. It was special. Our students, the arena was packed that night. And to do it against our rival, to do it against, the other program that at that time was associated with going to the NCAA tournament every single year. And to kind of show the country what Carbondale is all about. It was just, a special night and a special weekend. And the conversation I don't remember really with Aaron Andrews. I was exhausted. I remember going back into the locker room, because I was the last one in, and I was just exhausted in the locker. We gave it everything we had. We played an incredibly tough schedule my junior year, probably one of the toughest schedules, that a mid-major, school has ever played. And we had chances, all the way to the end of that year to still make the NCAA tournament.
You kind of gave us some insight into just how tough you were, and I feel like that's the adjective that kind of gets assigned to you as a player most often is tough. With the example you used your freshman year in the conference championship game, when you look back, what do you feel like the toughest thing you had to do or experience in your college career was?
That's a good question. When I look back, I'm still surprised or, kind of can't believe that I didn't get a chance to finish my college career here. Not being able to play my senior year healthy, having to sit out, the second half of it, not really getting a fair shot the last couple months of my junior year, and to still have the memories and some of the success that I was able to experience is just unbelievable. And I think it just speaks to this university, this community, the friendships I was able to make. Obviously just, going through, those injuries were extremely challenging, and it taught me a lot, and it helped me, through my professional career, and it helps me every single day coaching and trying to relate to these guys and what they're going through.
Coach Lowry had the great quote, this dude's crazy, talking about you. This dude's crazy. He played till he broke. That's how tough, that's how much he cared. Despite the stress fractures, all the injuries, all the mileage on your legs, you still go play pro for 4 years. Despite all that, why do you still go play?
Well, I think when you get hurt, it's taken away from you, and you feel like, unfairly, and I think once my senior year, that second stress fracture happened, I really started to learn how to take care of my body and what it means, to be a pro and all the requirements. It's not just practicing for 3 hours and going to shoot for 2 hours and then just keep doing it. There's so many other aspects that can help you become a better basketball player and become a professional. And, I still loved it. I wasn't ready to give it up. I still had that, burning desire to compete, to play, to prove myself. And I wanted to be able, to play professional basketball. And I thought I could put the work in, and I knew I had to take care of my body, but I thought I was good enough to.
You weren't ready to be done guarding people, were you?
No, not yet.
You may have said this in your Hall of Fame speech when you went in a couple years ago about how you took it personally when you would guard people. And just now that kind of jogged my memory to The Last Dance, which a lot of people got into here during quarantine, how Michael Jordan would kind of make up storylines in his head so he would hold it personally against people and go, kick their butt. But is that something in your experience that you would do? You would kind of make up things in your mind about the guy you were guarding to motivate you on a given night?
When I was actually guarding them, I wouldn't really make up stories about them. I just wanted to dominate them, basically, and I took it personal every time, and obviously if there's anything in the newspaper before our games, or if a guy was averaging, a certain number of points, I took that personal. I wanted to prove myself every single time I competed. I think where I would make up stuff or, find motivational techniques is when I was doing conditioning. When we were running the mile, I would, say, hey, another guard in this league is going to run in 5 minutes, or how bad do you want to win a championship this year? And when I went to shoot every single night at the arena, I would use the other players in the league, the other players in the country as motivation, and know that when I step on the court that next season that I've already outworked them, that, I have that trust in my work that, I know I'm ready to go.
Toughest guard in your college career that you had to match up with, who was it?
That's a good question. Eric Gordon, we played Indiana here my junior year at the arena. He was so strong, and he used I always tell guys, he used his head as a technique to get space on his jumper. And it was just something that I had to deal with. Butler, Mike Green on Butler, he was a shifty guard. He was really hard to stop for me individually. We played against a bunch of pros, but those two guys I remember in particular. I mean, OJ Mayo, we played against so many good guys, obviously the Kansas team, but, I always say Eric Gordon and, Mike Green is, he's had an unbelievable European career, and I think he's still playing now.
Yeah. I was going to say, on that Kansas team, you could probably just point at one of them and say, yeah, he's probably up there. But you get done playing in France, you join the staff at Loyola. I know there were some people maybe trying to talk you out of coaching. Why'd you take the bait anyway?
I think at that point I was still maybe thinking about doing something else, but, playing overseas, playing professionally, having Brendan, be already a college coach, knowing kind of what it entails. And just kind of, I still had that it thing inside me that I wanted to compete at some level. And I wanted to be able to share what I've learned through my career with others. And, the experiences I got to experience down here as a student athlete, professionally, I wanted to help people reach their goals, and, to be able to do it at this level, at this high of level in college, I thought was the right fit for me at the time.
How long did it take you to ease out of that competitiveness as a player and channel that into something kind of similar, same sport, but also very different?
Yeah, that first year, because I got done playing professional basketball and I went to the director of basketball ops role. So in that role, you're not allowed to, be on the court, coaching the guys. And, that was a tough transition because, I'm coming from playing every single day. I'm coming from, you're the one getting spoiled. And now I'm the director of ops, and I'm, hey, making sure you guys get your laundry turned in. Hey, do you guys want Subway or Pizza Hut after the game? So it was a great experience for me, looking back on it, but it was a tough transition because all you want to do is be out on that court. And, I think the hardest thing about coaching and the transition to coaching is that you can't control everything, no matter how hard you scout a team, no matter what you do in practice, the players, the guys out on the court are the ones who are going to make the shots, who are going to make the plays. And you try to make sure they're prepared, to have success as much as you can. And then you got to believe in them and let them make the plays out there.
Obviously, I don't want to gloss over anything you guys accomplished there at Loyola, obviously going to a Final Four, but, you've talked about that a lot before. Let's fast forward to, being a candidate for the SIU job. And you were a very popular player. You were in the league. I don't think it's any secret that there were some people that wanted you here, maybe even before you got here. But once you interview, what was the most challenging part of proving yourself in that process that you were the right guy?
I think after the interview, I think it's more so, a couple more conversations and you're kind of just waiting. But I think, once you do your interview, your body of work speaks for itself. I think, it's not all of a sudden, this guy, he interviewed great, let's just give it to him. I think it's everything I did up until that interview as well, in terms of, obviously my connections, my relationships here, but, who I am as a person, and, how I've treated other people. And I think other people speaking kindly on my behalf for me. And then, just kind of the work that I was able to do at Loyola and the reputation I was able to build as myself, as a coach, and not just a player, and I think that's important as well, the separation between being a player and a coach, and having respect on both sides. And, obviously when the opportunity came available to come back and represent my alma mater, it was unbelievable and something that I never knew if it would happen or not. And, I know how special this school is. You know, I mean, I lived it. I was here. I know what this place is, and I didn't even know, you know, the facilities and all the improvements they made in the last decade since I've been back. Obviously, I know the arena since we played here, but I had no idea about the weight room, the locker rooms, the offices, you know, and, you know, I've said it since I got this job, just the passion and pride that people have in this region for this university, for this basketball program, it's unmatched, you know, anywhere. And that's what makes this thing special. And I think you got to have something that separates your program from other programs in the country. And, you know, it's been like that since I was down here and before I was down here.
Now you've had a year on the job. Some things have worked, some things haven't worked, I'm sure. What do you personally need to get better at in year 2 as a head coach?
A lot. I need to, you know, I think you learn things every single game in terms of the basketball side of it. You know, I think, you know, different situations and the halves and the games, you know, different play calls, kind of understanding what works best for your guys. And I think we got better throughout the season with that. You know, I think the practices in terms of, you know, the schedule, knowing when we should go lighter, when we should go heavier, you know, when we should, you know, get the guys in individually, just kind of learning little things like that, you know, I think will be beneficial for this upcoming year. And I think the biggest thing with year 1 is also, you know, your staff. You know, everyone is so much more familiar with each other and what I expect from them. You know, going through everything we went through this first year, that this second year is an opportunity for us as a staff to take that big jump and just where everything I think will be a lot more seamless and fluid in terms of what we expect from each other.
You mentioned end of game situation, so nothing specific about the schematics of Marcus's game winner against Missouri State, but I just love going back and watching different people and their reactions in that. And I couldn't help but notice you kind of gave Brendan a little forearm shiver after he came over and tried to hug you after drawing up that play. Does he give you crap about that one?
No. I think I was just making sure everything was in. I was like, let's just make sure it's good. You know, like let's not celebrate quite yet. But yeah, what an incredible shot for Marcus. I mean, incredible scene in the arena, something that, you know, Marcus and his family will have for the rest of his life. And, you know, those are the type of moments that make this place so special, I think, and why people keep coming back, because those things do happen here. You know, for whatever reason, they've happened before, and they'll continue to happen. Yeah,
no doubt. Well, hey, I appreciate you doing this, and let me steal 45 minutes of your time. I know people will enjoy hearing from you. So
no, for sure. Thanks for having me on.